What's happening? Benton here. Let me get this Psalm 23 real quick. About to hit the road. Waiting for my app, my Bible app, my King James Version app. The most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. It rather restoreth my soul. It leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for its name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Yea, though the most super intelligent force of love possible walks through the valley of the shadow of death, it can fear no evil. It cannot fear evil. It's not capable of fearing evil. Surely goodness and mercy shall continue to follow the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest levels all the days of its life, if this can even be called life in this realm of delusion. What did Jesus say? I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life, the life. And I will dwell in the house of the most super intelligent force of love possible. The kingdom of that force is within me, by the way, folks, if the Bible is to be believed. So I'm rewriting Psalm 23, apparently. Oh, uh-oh, a little too much distracted driving here. I forget sometimes I'm on camera. But I'm on camera, y'all. I wonder how much of this audio they hear. Uh-oh, two of them done went. Is the third one gonna wait? He could have went. He thought about it. I would have went, buddy. That's MAGA right there. That's a MAGA in their pickup trucks, all going the same place. One of them got a tail light out. And the first one pulled out, towing a trailer out of the truck stop. And then I'm coming, making my turn. The second one goes. It's a little questionable, but I don't have to get on the fuel. And then the third one does what's technically the right thing, but kind of sort of shows his lack of boldness. Maybe that's why he's bringing up the rear, in the rear with the gear, right? That's funny. In the rear with the gear, Jack. Where are we going? Chicagoland. Not going to make it there today. We'll make it to Illinois, barring the unforeseen. Illinois never play with toys. There's a rapper, Illinois, or there was. Illinois. Man, I made the mistake of rubbing my eyes yesterday, and now I got gunk in my eyes. Something going on. Reminder not to touch my eyes. Dang it. Whatever was on my hands, I did a real good job rubbing into my eyes yesterday. Oh, and we're in Oklahoma, by far the worst drivers in the country, if anybody's curious. I mean, it ain't even close. And what they like to do is not pass on the big road for some reason. So I'm trying to get on the interstate, but this person is unwilling to go by me, even though I'm going 39. Oh, and they're from Tennessee, so I don't know what's up with that. What's up with that, sir? A lot of Texas plates, but they drive like Oklahomans once they get into Oklahoma. I don't know. Did they all just move here? What's going on? Remember, they turned the speed of the truck down, so I'm going to take that as a clue to stop speeding entirely. And on this road, the truck will not speed, but we will be going through some little towns, I believe. Some little Oklahoma towns. Definitely not going to pass there. Some of these little towns, they got everybody so trained to drive slow. At a certain point, I was coming up to a light, and there was a bunch of big rigs and mixed traffic in the right lane. And I just know from experience, and looking at my GPS, I'm like, well, shit, it's 45 through here. I went exactly 45 and just passed everybody, including a cop. I'm like, damn, they got these people trained. Usually I go 5 over if I'm feeling froggy, even through the little towns, but never 6, never 7. And that's the discipline, right? Can the human decide? Well, they will let me go 4 miles over, 5 miles over, but if I don't pay attention and I creep up, oh, and now we're catching this person. How am I catching this person? I have not gone faster than 63. See, this is what it is to drive a truck, especially there's nobody on the road. I look at behind me, there's traffic way the fuck back there. There's nothing in front. This pickup truck did not want to pass me as I got on the interstate. I held it at 39 to get him to go by me. I got up to 62 and slowed back down because I was running up on his ass. Now I'm going 53 and he's trying to pace me from the front. Like, this is the populace, by the way, in case anybody's curious. Probably intoxicated and texting his side piece and setting up future side pieces. Like, how is this possible? Right. And it happens so regularly. Like, and I understand that represents some portion of the populace. So when I'm at, wherever, I understand the death of third spaces, supposedly. But, when I am mingling with the people, I know some of them are this same person that will see a big rig getting on the interstate, slowly trying to get up to speed, and they will slow down, and then attempt to drive in a group with the semi. Like, what other explanation could there be? I'm going 53. He's still close enough that if I speed up, I'm going to catch right back up to it. Like, how is this possible? This is just complete insanity. Now I'm going to speed up just because this rig's catching me, and I don't want to be going 53 when they catch up to me. It's just complete nut. It's just insanity. And then, what's the mathematics of perfectly as I'm accelerating? Remember, if I could have just stopped, I would have been happy to stop in the road and just let that guy join his friends, the third of the party leaving the truck stop, and they're definitely all together going to the same place. Except experience has taught me that they won't understand or know what to do, or they'll think it's a trap. Like, if I felt like I could have came to a complete stop and that person actually would have made their turn, I would have done so. Thus, this never would have happened. So, like, what's the mathematics if I've lived my entire life? If that's an actual discrete spiritual being, they've lived their whole life, and mathematically, this is what it's led to. Yeah. Like, how is this possible? And like I say, once a week, it's just somebody that just drives slow, and they just happen by it. So, yeah, that happens. Yes, most of the time, it's not that. I can assure you. So the answer would be, okay, speed up and pass him. Oh, he's not going to let us pass him if we speed up. There's a 0% chance. 100% of the time, that person, unless it's the one person per week who's just driving slow, they will speed up. 100% of the time. Anyway, I can already tell I'm a little cranky old man this morning. Shout out to the chat. There's old T and I, Trinat. Hell, I don't know. I think they go either 68 or 70. They might go 70. Because I've heard they do, if they haven't changed, they do, and I guess I might be doxing a potential future company, but since they don't have assigned tractors, which I think I would prefer overall, actually, especially since they're all the same model, more or less. Then it comes down to, because what the advantage to me would be is, if I'm a new driver, I would probably do my best to grind out 2 or 3 months and show them what I can do, and then take a month off. And from what I researched online, as long as you don't go more than 30 days, stay in communication with the company, you're still employed there, or I would still be employed there. And then when I come back, I go to whatever yard and pick out an unassigned tractor, and then probably have to put it in the shop, most likely. Because the thing to do would be to put the truck in the shop at the end of the tour of duty, right? But I don't know that that happens necessarily. And then why wouldn't the company have people that are at the terminal, right, to go around and inspect and look for problems? Well, because it's business, and I can't say never personal, but the business of Moloch's machine, aka this system of things, this realm of business, right? Shout out to the movie Network from 1976, and the character played by Ned Beatty's boardroom speech to Mr. Bill. And I believe that is the most accurate description of the realm ever. What this place is, as far as at the level of how it functions. And then, and I've played that speech on my channel many times. And if you want to check it out, you can just go search on YouTube Network movie Ned Beatty speech or whatever. You'll find it. And what Ned Beatty does is he throws in the game, right? He runs game on the news anchor Beal. He runs the game as if everybody born into this world holds a share of stock in these businesses, right? From the perspective of working and employment and money and all of these various systems. That his speech completely disregards classism, and so Ned Beatty's character is only speaking from the perspective of the so-called money class, however you would define that. Basically, everybody who's not the proletariat, right? Look that word up. I mean exactly the dictionary definition, not from 1850, by the way. Today's dictionary definition. That's what I mean. Let's see, did the cranky old man run them off? Well, there's a few here. Shout out to y'all. Appreciate y'all being here, listening to my foolishness. So my first thought upon awakening this morning, and that does tie into the physiology. I took 2 doses of the tart cherry extract. It's quite powerful. By the way, if anybody ever is interested in nutritional supplements, I don't sell them, but shout out to Gary Baxter, who used to try to make the expensive pea joke. And there's something to that. I do have personal experience with the more affordable side of supplements that are available on Amazon. So, for example, tart cherry extract can be quite expensive, and I found a brand that I personally have used on Amazon that's yet still expensive compared to just the brands that contain almost nothing, right? The ones, the fillers and all this, but it actually has the product in it. So if anybody ever wants to know, I guess email me. If anybody knows my email address, I used to put the email in the description of the videos, but then people have stopped emailing me over time. AKA I ran them off because maybe they came to understand, yeah, we have a relationship and it's parasocial, right? Not me and you, the listener. I mean, whoever used to email me. And then tying in with the theme of the present broadcast, right? The recent broadcast, how disorienting, uncomfortable, and painful is it, to finally realize, oh, I've been emailing this person with a YouTube channel, and yeah, they're affable and friendly and somewhat charming, but he's been telling us all along, right, what we need to know. But whatever they need, whatever that codependent side is attaching to me, right, and then however that feels inside to realize, wow, I've really, not me, but they've really been engaged in this sort of ongoing parasocial relationship, right, via the internet. And for me, it is what it always was. I like to talk about intellectual ideas, and I like to be affable and charming at times. I like to be in the know. I used to get information. People would send me information. And it's not to say I'm never emailed, but and there are generous donators that email me from time to time, usually in the context of a donation, by the way. and maybe I email them to thank them for a donation. But we're truck driving, so no need of donations. Although if you want to, I'll just give even more to homeless people, as I do when I see them. Not every time, but oftentimes. Of course, much of the audience is staunchly opposed to handouts. Meanwhile, how much of the audience that claims to be staunchly opposed to handouts, how many of those exact same people work jobs, and then the government takes a portion of their blood, sweat, and tears and labor and gives most of what the government has taken is given to rich bankers for interest on the national debt. Rich banking families, and 100 generations from now, within Moloch's machine, their bloodline will never have to do anything they don't want to do for a moment in their lives other than worship Moloch's machine, of course. They probably already want to do that at the level of the generational curses and, whatever incantations or, performed over the baby to have the wickedest and most diabolical of spirits enter in, right? SRA style, that's all real. I'm certain. I'm almost 100% certain. That's not they have to tell you, but it's seems to be the case. Yes, seems to be the case. All right, it's Oklahoma. Somebody's coming up behind. Are they going to pass, or are they going to do what almost all of them do and slow down and match my speed and hang out? Although occasionally, I think one passed me earlier. They're thinking about it because and the fear around, oh my God, I'm in the fast lane passing, so I might get a ticket. Well, except I'm going 63 and it's a 70 zone, so it's 100% legal to pass me and never break the speed limit, by the way. Look at them, just fearful and hesitant. That's what Moloch's machine wants them to be, or well, I shouldn't even say wants them to be. It's a big way we're manipulated, or not we, the normie bozos, and of course on their phones. That's also another layer. Lest we forget, they're from misery. I see. They just don't want to return to misery. Well, it never leaves on some level. But yeah, my first thought upon arising was about how they turned my truck down to 68, which obviously bothers me on some level, clearly. But then how much of that is and here's how we got into the tart cherry extract. That is really good for inflammation. And again, this is not health advice. Do your own research. I'm only speaking from my experience, but also it seems to relax or affect in my physicality certain tissues where, whatever some of this past issues and repression that's still lingering around, it really it seems like it gets into the physiology of that. And I took 2 doses yesterday, 2 full doses, and which is medicine, by the way. Let thy food be thy medicine. That is an extract of a food, pardon me. I took one right before bed. Also contains natural melatonin. I don't take melatonin. It historically has made me kind of groggy. So I am slightly groggy, which is fine, but definitely a different style of sleep where I believe it's more restful in the tissues, perhaps more physically restful, which has led to a physiology, right? So upon awakening, I was not awakened because they turned my truck down to 68 miles an hour from 76, right? Which is actually, yeah, 75 to 68 technically. And what happened was there was a physiology happening. I was in the little sleep. I was dead to the world, dead to this dream world. Then, back to life, back to reality. And the first thought is they turned your truck down. And then now, okay, I go through a brief, analysis and sort of an emotional kind of a, whatever process I go through, but then very quickly through the meditation, realizing, oh, this is the physiology. And then this is also like the cortisol kicking in, because I am trained to some extent. When I wake up, it's probably fairly close to number one, egg time. Number two, if I need to leave right at when my 10-hour break is over and I need to do egg time, it's like, yeah, it's probably time to wake up and get moving. Now, here comes the hormones and the cortisol, right? And the physiology, uh, to not need to hit this, by the way, to not need to hit the snooze button 3 or 4 or 5 times, right? Like that fella I work for. And that's not a mental thing. That's a physiological thing. I was much the same way uh, when I was obese and was living wrong, treating my vessel wrong, doing bad things to my vessel. Hey, there's a trans person on a Cherokee Casino billboard. Interesting. Obvious biological male dressed up as a female. Gigantic billboards in the reddest of the red, Oklahoma. Right. We ain't even. Well, actually, we are kind of near the interstate, but we're heading perpendicular. We're heading away perpendicular to it. Yeah, the truck stop that I slept at last night, and bought a new cell phone mount for $17 with tax to replace the one that the adhesive was failing, the one that I pulled off when I moved out of the truck. So, and this is important to be able to frame this properly, and then it's helpful also through the physiology. I'm examining, how I'm approaching them turning my truck down. And then also knowing, well, later on in the day, I'm not really going to give a fuck, although I still do kind of give a fuck on some level. But this is what gets me to the business personal side of it is, yeah, but it feels personal, right? And then the realm will absolutely, Moloch's machine almost never ceases to do things to me that will seem personal, right? And I'm free to take them personally. So now I'm actually observing, or I shouldn't say now, back early this morning, an hour or two ago, I would begin to examine, okay, is this an appropriate response to what the realm is doing to me via this trucking company, which, by the way, it's only doing to me because I've chosen to engage, overtly in business, right? And then, what levels of cope do I need to access intellectually, to even deal with, right, at the level of like justification and all of this, which is certainly justifiable. And now here's the realm fucking with me part. I absolutely would have taken this job if the first words out of the guy's mouth was, hey, driver facing cameras and 68 miles an hour. But then let me tell you the things you're going to like. And then now it comes down to, can I believe this person? Although this person that hired me is so diabolical and cunning, which I do respect, he understood how to approach the issue that on some level I can see that his interaction with me was based on, he understands that at my level of experience, I'm just going to assume he's a recruiter until proven otherwise. And I'm not really inclined to believe it. It's neither here nor there, whatever he actually tells me. Right. Which I'm now seeing he used that to his advantage. Hey, good on him. Good on him. Game recognized game, right? And so to even be it, so involving myself in the business of Moloch's machine necessarily involves me directly in, subterfuge, guile, manipulation, all of these things, right? So of course, how could that not affect my physiology? How could I not feel some type of way about that? I would have to, right? So then I'm looking at, okay, whatever this visceral just woke up response is this proportionate to what I'm experiencing logically? Because again, the emotion or the feeling being irrational by nature, then the logic and the reason and the thoughts and the concepts even though they can manifest in an irrational way, just like the emotions are able to manifest consistent with what's rational and real, or what it might be considered reality, sure, but that doesn't change the nature of the thing itself. So the thoughts and the ideas and the logic by nature are rational. The opposite. So the logic is telling me, no, this is not, whatever reaction I'm having is not proportionate to my actual experience. It's simply not. Which is a reminder, okay, why? There's one cause of this disproportionate, and I haven't even acted upon it. It was still going on within me, but I'm certainly free to then grumble and complain and begin to attach, to outcomes and attach to, so here's the key. Here's the one error that allows this all to be possible. This is the one error, not that, is responsible for the realm and responsible for the delusions, but it's the one error within my own sphere of influence, right? That I'm determined to eventually be able to operate my internal space and sphere of influence completely outside of service of Moloch's machine, right? That's my intention and goal, one of them anyway. And, okay. Should have stayed in the slow lane. Now we're in town clogging the passing lane, potentially. This one truck, Raider Express, they drive so slow on purpose that I know I'm going to pass him at some point. So somebody willing to work for a company that's trying to get the best fuel economy possible is typically not going to mind if I hammer down and get in front of him, because he knows I'm going to pass. He knows that I know that I'm going to pass him anyway, unless he's brand new with that company. They used to go like 57 or something, but I think they're up over 60 now. Still, you generally the slowest carrier on the road typically, and then they must have some sort of incentive to get specific fuel economy metrics, I'm assuming. I bet they don't get on their ass about tailgating. Anytime they can tailgate, they're going to do it. I bet. Get in that draft. So the one reason that I was able to have, because there is a response. Like there's going to be a response. The only way not to have the response is through repression, by refusing to even experience a response, right, to this phenomenon of them turning my truck down. And so now that I've identified disproportionate response, okay, and then, by the way, that's okay. I don't need to then go back into, yeah, but they did this. So this human tendency, which is probably not even fully human because of the way the psychology operates, right? Now we're in a fucking clusterfuck. All right, I'm passing. If they pull me over, I'm just going to tell the cop, look, I'm not riding in a clusterfuck at 45 miles an hour because some four-wheeler wants to go exactly 45. Of course, the whole group's going to speed up now that I'm speeding up, but that's just how that goes. I'm risking 52 in the little town, 45. But yeah, I'm just not going to do that. And that's another thing about truck driving. There's certain things I'm just not going to do. And the company can continue to harp on it until they want all they want. I'm still not going to do it unless I choose to do it, whatever that is. Now, see, I'm actually torturing myself solely based on passing that one truck. None of this would be happening if I had not passed that one truck. I'm applying my own torture. And the four-wheeler that was causing the entire thing, predictably, is now speeding right beside me. Because now it's okay to speed because somebody else is speeding. See, this is the human. But now it's okay to speed because somebody else is speeding. So that makes it okay. It wasn't okay before, though, because I was leading the pack, and it's not okay to speed. But see that truck's speeding, so now it's okay to speed. This is humanity, by the way.
Reduce speed.
This is humanity. The same person that is scared to go over 43 won't let me pass them when I'm going 5 miles over. See, that's the same person that does both things. Do they have any clue what they're doing? Number one, they don't know what they're doing in the world. Like they can't even examine what they're performing physically, right? In relation to how other people are performing physically. They can't even do that. And then, so I would say almost 0% chance of examining the internal space. And the vast majority of all of these people, it's whatever they're doing is solely based on however they feel. So it felt scary when they were the lead vehicle. It feels scary and insecure to be the person who says it's okay for this group to go at least the speed limit or slightly over. Now I pull out and say, well, fuck this. I'll go at least 7 over because I feel like I can explain myself based on this situation. And if we're all pretending to care about safety, it's clearly more safe to get out of the pack than to stand. Let's just all be bunched up for no fucking reason. And then, of course, as soon as I go 5 over, it doesn't feel scary to speed now because somebody else is speeding, right? And so, here I am in this realm, understanding all of this and observing it. It's never a dull moment out here, to be sure. And now we're back to they're happy and content to just ride, to pace me from the front. I'm literally driving their car, and I've picked their speed. I'm going 63. If I speed up to 68, they will go 68. Because they're looking at their phone, and every once in a while they look in their rear view, and they're driving based on my position relative to theirs. This is the general public, y'all, and it's insane. This is a form of insanity, and I'm not being hyperbolic. I mean literal, de facto insanity. So you'll never convince me because all of these discussions, when it ends up being a kill the messenger because, oh, Benton's hitting a little too close to home with the nature of the realm, at some point it's going to be brought back to an insinuation that, well, actually the people are capable and they have the proper spirit of wanting to change things, right? No, they don't. Absolutely not. You will never get me to sign off on the people that I'm observing are the same people who are capable and would do the right thing, by the way. They just unknowingly, they're just ignorant, right? Absolutely not. They love death, by the way. What is the primary motivator in Moloch's machine for the individual to serve Moloch's machine? Even if they don't know that is what they're doing. They love death, right? Now people say, well, how is that possible? How can they love death? Well, they're simultaneously denying the possibility of their own death, number one. But then further serving and by the way, making excuses for a realm of death and destruction, making excuses for it, right? So, and that's all a result of the rebellion, right? The so-called fall of man, or, if we're going to call it the Adamic race, the fall is to rebelliously refuse to utilize and behave and manifest and bring forth what may be the true essence or nature of the individual, right? Super intelligent, the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level. And so a lot of this, by the way, in watching this car who's never going, unless I slow way the fuck down for a mile or two, they're never going to get out of my sight until they find another vehicle to attach to, because there need to be in a group with humans or something that's plausibly human or human-like, by the way, because make no mistake, many folks are already using artificial intelligence apps to have conversations with to deal with their own isolation and loneliness. That's already happening. And it does seem to be like the ladies are going for it a little more than the males, but I'm sure the males are going for it also. And my thing is like, I'm choosing to drive at 2 a.m. Why do I have to, on this perfectly open road with no traffic on it, why do I have to look at their taillights? For what? Because they're a human and they have a need and a feeling and a void to fill, and a void that needs to be filled. And then, or that, I'm sorry, that they mistakenly believe. Well, and they really don't have a void, by the way. I mean, we can get into the fact that there is no void, back to how Moloch's machine operates. So it's this identification with what does the realm have to offer me, right? Well, it has death and destruction and depravity and decadence to offer you, and misery and loneliness and struggle and strife. But it will also grant you access, or grant them access to, enjoyments at the level of the five senses, right? And then at the level of, other enticements, maybe how one views oneself. Right? How slow do I have to go here? We're now down to 53 because it's a construction zone. But there's no construction, there's no workers. It's just, there's yellow cones, or orange cones rather. Right. And then also understanding, yeah, I have developed the practices within myself to deal with all of this. And by the way, I already had them in place when I started truck driving. There's no way I would have lasted that first year if traffic bothered me. Right. Because remember, I'm already cranky old man based on the physiology this morning. So I'm more inclined to describe the traffic and make, or the way people choose to drive, and then make certain extrapolations. I'm more inclined to do that. By the way, what if these people who've intentionally, whether they know it or not, they are purposely driving where I'm near them. What if they looked in their mirror? What if they looked up from their screen and the giggling of their feed, and they look in their rear view, and I'm just running all the cones over in their rear view, right? I'm using the deer guard to just run the cones over. Because, like, yeah, I'm not going to do that, but like I would if I wanted to. I'm capable of it. Let's just put it that way, right? What if they look in their mirror and I'm just running all the cones over? Like, what do they do now? What now, right? And then as I'm accelerating towards them, by the way, if I timed it perfectly, they would look in the mirror and it's like some version of that one of two different trucking movies, Maximum Overdrive, and I guess Spielberg's Duel. How slow do I have to go, people? Like, what's your pound of flesh? Because at this point, I might just pull over for 5 minutes, but I don't need to go to the bathroom. But like, what is this pound of flesh? What is this? Now we're down to 55, 54. Like, why? Meanwhile, remember, once the road opens up, I cannot pass them. It's not possible. Right? If the truck still went 75, maybe they would let me pass them. Maybe. Right? So why are we going to drive together? Like, let's say they're going 200 miles and I'm going to go 200 miles without stopping for a bathroom break. Why do we need to drive the next 200 miles together? What is it going on within them? So now we're on to insecurities, right? Now we're into the realm of insecurities. Now we're into the realm of like all of these things going on inside of them. A seeming hole that must be filled with something outside of them, by the way. And that's also, they are proving that either their essence is not one with the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, or They are not identified with it and just rebelliously refuse to interface with it. So now 46 with the flashers on. Now Raider Express is going to pass us, but will this car get away from me at 46 with the flashers on? Like I'm going to test their spirit. The Bible says test the spirits. I'm testing their spirit. What's going to happen? Probably they're going to start to break away, and then we're in town, and the lights are now there's lights, traffic lights. Or now the realm itself is keeping them in play. See, now we get into the targeted individual aspects, right? Now we get into the targeted individual aspects, right? Because the realm is not going. They might have escaped otherwise. The realm's not going to allow them to escape. So now we're going 35 and a 45. It's not even technically a 45 yet. I got Raider Express up my ass. But no, bro, I'm going as slow as I got to go to get these people the fuck away from me. So I don't know what to tell you, bro. Do whatever you got to do, but I'm done riding with those people. It ends now, right? You go get in a group with them, Raider. Y'all are made for each other. They'll go as slow as they have to go, apparently. And you already go slow, so go get them. And then now here's the other targeted individual part of it. Let's watch them not attach their destiny to Raider Express, right? Oh, we caught the light with Raider Express. Interesting. So I slowed down so much to try to get Raider Express to go around me. The light cycled fully again, and now we're stopped for the red. Maybe this will get them out of my orbit, right? And see, the realm, this is what's instructive. If anybody in this realm, forget about Jesus, don't forget about Jesus, but, the reality is anybody in this realm that's going to, if a person is at least part of the time willing to express their nature, and that nature is one with the most super intelligent force of love possible, you or they are a targeted individual, 100%. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody who thinks they're a targeted individual, that's obviously a specific form of mental illness, clearly, right? And so, of course, I'm not a so-called targeted individual. I'm not mentally ill, right? But the fact is, Moloch has machinery in place to deal with me at the level of the realm itself will punk me. And I don't mean punk me in a manhood way, but, it's like I'm on an episode of the show Punked a lot of the time, right? So I'll just go as however slow we got to go. The maximum goal for today says I got to drive 9 more hours. So if nothing crazy happens, then, and I don't have to drive that far. I was already thinking about maybe laying up based on if I get too close to the delivery tomorrow, that'll put me to where I can't plausibly start my clock early enough in the day to where if they decided to send me into Chicago proper to live load Monday, they could try to, based on my clock, they could extend that into the afternoon. Now, old bit's cruising around Chicago in 5 o'clock rush hour traffic. But I'm like, well, wait a minute. I might have already been in early morning traffic. It's like, I'm not doing both. So probably I can't even drive the 9 hours. So I can go as slow as it takes. And remember, it's the company's 70-hour clock. It's not my 70-hour clock. That's the company. See, now we're back to Moloch's machine and business/personal, right? That's their clock. It's not my clock because I'm happy to work less, not more, right? I'm happy to work less, not more. And I'm able to discipline myself. And then now the company's sending me the slow it the fuck down messages. Okay, that's fine. That's less productivity for y'all's 70-hour clock. But then, and here's where the big boys always beat the little boys in truck driving or in business. This is when they say competition is a sin, they mean amongst the big carriers, right? Amongst the large corporations. That's what the Rockefeller notion of competition being a sin, that's what that means, right? It means once we take over the game, we don't compete with each other. We are the monopoly, right? But in doing that, they then collude with each other and make it where the small carrier can't compete. on the same level, right? It's just simply not possible, right? Now our lane's ending, and I get to observe how humans are going to make this into a complete clusterfuck because we're taking off from a dead stop, and people have to get over in front of me. But then there's going to be traffic behind me that's going to think I'm slow moving, and then they might pull out to pass, right? Unless they already know that the lane ends up here. And then now I'm speeding up, so somebody might decide to try to race me because oh my god, we're going one lane, and that slow truck's we're about to get trapped behind the slow truck, and that's the same person who has absolutely no issues uh, connecting themselves to my bumper on an open road and going slow, right? And that's the same fucking person who will panic and go, "Oh my god, I'm about to get trapped behind a slow truck, and it's one lane." Ah, same person, right? So who are they serving? Who's their master, right? Because if Moloch's is attacking me via this realm through that person and those people that behave that way, right? How am I not targeted? Whether again, oh, you think that people are plotting? I didn't say that. I said it's serving as it's targeting a specific manifestation, right? It's in fact, if my assertion is true and I'm manifesting that exact thing that Moloch's machine is in the process of potentially stamping out entirely at the layer of or the level of legalese to be able to push a plunger down or ring a bell and say, I got him. Moloch's machine, for the enemy, the antithesis of the proposition that love, whatever that may be, is the most powerful force possible at the highest levels of vibrational frequency. That Moloch's machine has been perfectly designed, or as nearly perfectly designed as possible, to cause that outcome. So, of course, anything I do that's while expressing my nature, if that's my nature, and I'm in a delusion that's operated by Moloch's machine in direct service of proving that, well, that's not in fact the case, this highest level of frequency and most powerful, phenomenon possible. Does it not make logical sense that I am targeted? What's the purpose of the machine then if I'm expressing in the spiritual war that thing that the other is attempting to disprove the validity of entirely? How could I not be targeted? What are you talking about? Not you, but what are they talking about? Because I can think of specific people that would immediately begin to ridicule me based on the notion of, oh, well, you think it's personal. No, I didn't say it was personal. Did anything I just described, does that sound personal? It's not personal. It's going to be made to feel personal within this human experience. How could it not? Once again, how could it not feel personal? And that's for me to develop, much like Moloch's machine has developed and continues to develop systems to thwart me. How am I going to get to where I aim to get to? Probably by creating and operating systems within myself, right? To do what? To transcend and rise above via what? The quickening spirit of Christ consciousness. What does the Bible say? It's a quickening spirit. So if I can always vibrate at a higher frequency than whatever Moloch's machine is throwing at me, that's the way out. The only way out is through via the quickening spirit. And that's only possible when I'm properly identified with my own essence or nature, one with the most super intelligent force of love possible. Back to where I started in the discourse, that's what causes the disproportionate response physiologically, which then crosses over into the content of my thoughts. That's what causes it, is that I wasn't properly identified. So what's the solution? To use focus, concentration, and discipline and practice to go back to identifying properly, which is also a form of meditation in a way. That's also a discipline. That's also a muscle, right? The continuous disciplining of the mind And in conjunction with love is a discipline of the mind, or probably more correctly, love is the discipline of the mind. Right? What you gonna tell me, by the way? Right? What's this realm gonna do to me when I leave truck driving once again, as certainly I almost certainly will do? You know, what's truck driving going to be able to do to me? Or I'm sorry, what's the realm going to be able to do to me? Rather, see, I don't need truck driving. If anything, truck driving needs me. But why is truck driving not able to treat me properly when arguably truck driving, you know, did treat people, if not properly, it treated the drivers, you know, it had to treat the drivers with some modicum of respect in the past. That's because the industry needed the driver. The industry no longer needs the driver. Right now, I don't care what certain people say. If if it came to an actual, there's not enough human beings to drive the trucks, the realm would begin using self-driving trucks tomorrow. I promise you it would. And it's already using them. What I mean is it would just go full on, it would go full on that, right? Full on self-driving truck. Are you going to race me, buddy, or are we going to cruise to the because the lane's ending? So you got to make your mind up, brother. Are we going to race, or are you going to just hang back? You got to make your mind up right now, because if it's a race, I'm finna hammer down. So which is it? But what we're not going to do is get to that merge point and not know who's about to go through first, which is the race. We're not doing that. I ran a motherfucker. I've ran a motherfucker to a dead stop before doing that when he thought he was going to win the game of chicken. Oh, we're in a game of chicken? Okay. That's interesting. Because I knew way before you were that we were in a game of chicken. And if I was willing to lose, I would have I would have backed out of it before we got into the game of chicken. Dumbo. And that was a fool that tried to road rage and follow me. And I pulled over on the shoulder of the on ramp, and that motherfucker climbed up on my truck and heard me rack the slide and realized he best get back to his truck. He thinks he's gonna open that door. Of course, that was a different Benton. See, this Benton ain't that Benton, right? How could he be? It's a new moment. Right? I'm creating Benton moment by moment. That's the creative force that never lies dormant. And I'm performing Benton. You know, when we review that, the performance moment to moment, right? That forms what? An image, right? Forms an image. And well, that image is going to need to be what? The image and likeness of the most super intelligent force of love possible. If not, mission not accomplished. And here's Moloch's machine within the delusion, delusion stacked upon delusion, stacked upon delusion, for me and you to inhabit within the larger delusion, in service of Moloch's machine via what? Business. And it feels very personal. When they turn my truck down, yeah, it feels personal. How could it not feel personal? That doesn't mean it's personal, but maybe it is. See, maybe I am getting sunned, as JG would call it. Shout out to JG. Maybe I am being sunned, right? But then, so part of my practice is to drive slow intentionally, but not out of spite, not to be able to say on the phone, well, you know, I'm just driving to wait for them to make light of, you know, well, you used to be driving more miles per day or whatever. What's going on? And then, well, y'all turn my truck down, blah, blah, blah. See, now I'm attached to, you know, I'm identifying not with my nature. That would be to identify with, you know, the death of this realm, right? Wrong. You know, that's not right. You know, correct. No, it's not correct to do that, but that's what it would be. See, even the language, see, in a thought experiment, even the language is built and designed in part to what? Serve Moloch's machine. How could it not be? If it is of man, it is by design in service of Moloch's machine. There can be no other way in this realm. And I understand the human propensity. And by the way, there's always exceptions to everything. That is correct philosophy. Correct philosophy being the absence of incorrect philosophy. Well, there's always exceptions to everything. There has to be, right? And that is the Kabbalion notion of all truths are merely half truths, which is probably true on some level or levels, right? Kabbalion. I'm the smartest person that sounds the dumbest. So, part of this is I drove 63 miles an hour at maximum, unless going downhill for 14 fucking months. In fact, my first 14 months in truck driving. And, realistically, with a so here's what a 68-mile-an-hour top speed does. It's called a sitting duck because I can't get away from the truckers who can go faster, right? So if I put myself in a scenario where I'm attempting to always go 68 in a 70 or a 75 to the greatest extent possible, it makes for a miserable driving experience, and I end up dealing with a lot of traffic that I otherwise would not deal with. But if I go 60 motherfucking 3 and I'm willing to slow down to get the people who are find that attractive because they want to ride my bumper, the DOT bumper of a tractor trailer, right? Then if I'm willing to go 55 or 50 to get them to pass me, then I actually, when I do occasionally catch a slower rig, I can just hammer down and pass them, right? So effectively, and then when conditions call for it and the scenario is there, I can always just go 68, in traffic and fucking put my big boy pants on and get the load there on time, right? And by the way, this will save the company money in that it's obviously I'm using way more fuel the way I've been driving. Of course, obviously. So consistent with my nature, in order to express what I know to be my essence, I can take the exact same. See, this is the part of how subtle this realm is, or more correctly, to be what I am and what you may be in this realm is the same action, the exact same action is either correct or incorrect based on how I'm operating at the level of how I'm identifying within my own space inside, right? It's fascinating. Fascinating. Mind, body, and spirit. And so my tendency at a warrior level and a domination level, right? I'm a very, one of the mental. I know I am one of the most mentally strong people you will ever meet. Like I know this. Part of that is I've tested it, right? I know exactly what the fuck I'm made of at the level of mental strength, right? Uh, Historically, when I believed, here's the thing: is what caused me to believe that I needed to or was incentivized to impose my will on another human. And number two, is that even appropriate? So number one, well, what was it not? Well, that don't sound like love to me. Does love dominate and impose its will on people, even though it can, even though it now, again, is it even capable of that? Set that to the side, right? But so clearly I was not expressing my true nature in those moments, meaning I was what? Serving Moloch's machine and identified with death, destruction, depravity, decadence, and on, right? So if I am engaged in some form of a battle of wills or whatever, not even a battle of wills, if I'm engaged in some sort of psychological warfare with this fella at the company, which I don't know if I am or not, does it even matter? But again, back to my assertion that in this realm, at least virtually all human interaction is based. The base layer, the basic layer, is manipulation. Like he's trying to get me to do something, and then I'm just going to, in the long run, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I'm going to do. But then, I'm also attempting to manipulate things to maybe not be bothered as much or threatened with, but again, in this realm of death and destruction, if the company wants to write me up, whatever that means, because I honestly have no idea what that even, I really don't know what that means. And, that's dead, right? That's dead. And I understand that it's also, since I do like prison content on YouTube to some extent, or I have historically, that's like if there's a squad, if there's a disagreement brewing, and part of the convict code is one convict might say to the other, "That's dead," meaning like we're dropping it here, or if you choose to continue to give life to this, then I'm letting you know without saying it, there may be consequences, or maybe not, right? But from my perspective, my participation in this two-way conversation is over, right? That's dead, right? So I can't tell the realm. The realm knows it's dead, but I can tell myself, well, that's dead. Meaning, back to the Fight Club concept of to let that which does not matter truly slide. Meanwhile, let the dead bury the dead, render unto Caesar. So that belongs to Caesar. The write-up, right? The trucking company belonged to Caesar. The write-up belonged to Caesar. See? So why am I concerned? Because I'm identified with something that's capable of being concerned. Because my essence can't concern itself with a write-up. See, that's me internalizing, most likely based on how I was raised and shit, right? Which was partially, we have a family name to uphold. I don't give a fuck about that. That family name is dead. That family name belonged to a realm of death and destruction, right? And the reality is, yeah, I have this famous ancestor, and on paper, it looks like a really good thing in a way. And it is to an extent, but, from my perspective as a competitor and, on the male side, I don't know everybody's, well, I don't even want to get into the astrology, but, you know, uh, and I was never anywhere near capable of being a professional athlete, obviously, especially not an all pro and record setter and all of this. However, what I did competitively in sports was done against the highest levels of competition that I could find and was allowed to participate in. In fact, at times, including some of the best, or at least people who were scholarship athletes on what pretty quickly became the best college basketball team in the country. Right. So the fact that I was successful in playground basketball and I played against the best competition I could find. Well, the NFL did not represent the best possible competition when my grandfather did his damage because there weren't no black players. And then when the Rams went to LA and my grandfather led the league in receiving, that was the season that the league reintegrated because they last had black players in like 1933. So my grandfather did all his famous exploits before only against white players. Right. I was the physically smallest person on the court and only played against blacks. Right. Now, I would say my size was actually more relevant than the race. But the fact is, I could have chosen to only play basketball against white people, and I never would have gotten as good because the level of competition simply wasn't there. Right. So the point I'm making is, like, who even fucking cares at the end of the day? Like, what did he really do? My famous ancestor, right? What did he even actually accomplish? Well, he's certainly served and continues to serve after his death. Moloch's machine. This ridiculous family name is almost entirely based on my famous ancestor. Bro, you can choose to believe this or not. I'm just going to tell it because, again, I'm in a room. I'm in a delusion, right? Now, I may be in a thought experiment at times. I'm definitely in a delusion, right? Whether I want to be or not. And I'm telling you, you can choose to believe this or not. But the fact is, for a time, a lot of folks were they were interacting with me in the physical space quite strongly based on whatever they were trying to get out of me. Oftentimes, it was attractive younger women engaged in some version of attempting to get attention from me. Whether or not that means they would ever bring me home to their apartment, whatever. I have no fucking idea. I have been hearing for a while now that, well, out in California, a lot of the younger women they got their boyfriends are homeless. They're finding their boyfriends on the street or what. I don't fucking know. I'm telling you what I experienced. And if you don't believe it, that's fine. I don't, who cares? Don't believe it. Some people are so skeptical. The fact that I'm telling this, as far as they're concerned, proves that it can't possibly be true. That's fine. So at a certain point, two different attractive women were more or less following me on the street, trying to get my attention. And again, I am able to fucking read the signs, right? And believe me, I can make the case that this is happening. Feel free, by the way, feel free to come follow me around in the physical space and see how people react to me some of the time, right? Some of the time. And it's a cultural thing in LA. I'm probably just not ugly enough to meet a certain standard, and LA culture really upholds physical looks above all. Like that's, I need the other things. I need the other trappings of success, but on some level, like I have the one thing that kind of is needed, right? It is a disaster to be in LA and not to be able to meet that threshold. That is a disaster on some level. It's not really a disaster at the truck stop in Oklahoma, right? Well, in fact, it's not a disaster. Yes, ma'am. Doing that now. And what was I going to say? Can't remember. But it'll come. Oh, so at a certain point, and remember, I also have I got my own things going on. Like I used to tell people, like nobody's homeless for damn near 10 years for no fucking reason. Meaning, yeah, clearly there's something wrong with me in a sense, like just not on paper. And I don't even like to talk that way because like now I don't admit to any illnesses or personality disorders. But, I would say actually it's the sick society that is the cause in a way, right? Being, what do they say? I don't remember the exact wording, but it's something about, proving that I'm able to conform to a profoundly ill society. That can never be a measure of health, right? Mental health, being able to go along to get along or whatever. But I just said out of my own fucking mouth where they could hear it. I said, I know what you're reacting to. My grandfather was one of the greatest Los Angeles Rams of all time, and I look just like him. He led the motherfucking league in pass receiving and held the record for fucking 40 years. That's what you're seeing in me. I'm homeless. And I almost dropped the first bitch, I'm homeless, right? Because if this goes long enough, eventually I'm just going to be like, bitch, I'm homeless. What do you want? Like, what do you want from me? Like, could I please just be left the fuck alone? Like the rest of the homeless people? I'm homeless, bitch. Stop it. Stop it. Please. Please stop. What the hell? What the hell? Phone went flying because of the greatest country on earth. And I should have just bought two phone mounts, actually. I think I know how to rehabilitate the original one. I believe the adhesive is designed to be refreshed with, they say, rinse it in warm water and let it air dry. I think that's the case. But I forgot how to do it because I had thrown all the instructions away. So I read the instructions on this replacement. So maybe we'll give that a shot at some point. But whatever that is, right? Whatever that is, talking about my ancestors, that's there's something to that, right? And whatever that is inside of me. Like whatever that is that had me, as the physically smallest. Again, that's more relevant looking back on it than my race, but choosing to play against the best competition possible, which happened to be all blacks in my hometown, right? Um, and a 50-50 split at the time, and now 75-25, right? We fully integrated where I'm from. And my grandfather, not ever testing himself that I know of against the best competition, right? But then maybe, by the way, maybe he would have been just as good. Like we don't know, right? Like you can look at it's not a fully racial thing because if you and again when I go too much into sports, people they don't like it. But I'll make this final point hopefully and get off the sports. But there was a wide receiver in the NFL called Megatron because the colors of his team looked like the Transformers, Megatron, gray and blue, I guess. And he was like this physical specimen wide receiver. So he was like the prototype. It's basically like if we could turn out, a physical specimen of a wide receiver from a machine, this is what he would look like. He would be this tall. His arms would be this long. His hands would be this size. He would be able to catch a football to a high degree. He would be able to run and accelerate to this degree, right? He would be able to jump this high, right? And that was Megatron. And, he was definitely the best receiver in the league for many years. Well, guess what? Guess what came after Megatron? A white player from Arkansas who was exactly the same physically as Megatron. Exactly the same, slightly taller actually, a little bit taller, and all the same measurables. Same ability to catch the football. Actually, maybe slightly faster 40 time, right? Of course, younger, but if you compare the coming out of college Megatron to this white guy from Arkansas, so what's in the water in Arkansas? What is it about Arkansas turning out these fucking magical white boys to some extent? And not just Arkansas, the South also, right? It's like, yeah, the South is known for disproportionate number of athletes and physical specimens, and surprisingly, some of them are white, by the way. Like how many fucking high level white athletes are coming out of the West Coast? Like almost none. Every once in a while, you get a white running back from the West Coast. It's almost never happens. Right. We had Arkansas, the state of Arkansas produced a white boy running back that made the fucking Madden cover. Think about that, of the video game. And if not for his inability to fully conform to Moloch's machine, would have been made fabulously wealthy playing running back in the NFL, right? From Conway, Arkansas. Like, what is this? Something's going on in Arkansas. I don't know what. And I'm assuming my grandfather was a part of whatever that was. And, again, but in service of what? Moloch's machine. In service of Moloch's machine. Yeah. In service of the psyops and the delusions and, all of these things. Go around the car. I'm going slow as fuck trying to dodge y'all's potholes if you're local. So it's 45. I don't know if you're aware we're going 15 under the speed limit, but we are, in case you're unaware. They're from Mississippi, though. They are not from here, most likely. Although they could be. Maybe they just moved back from Mississippi. But, I look at where my family's from in Arkansas and then turning out at least one magical white boy. and maybe me on to some extent. Well, and me also, I guess. Actually, I will put myself in that class. And then, but also churning out, Bear Bryant, who became literally world famous. And if you guys haven't, if anybody hasn't followed college sports history, Bear Bryant from Fordyce, Arkansas, was absolutely one of the most famous people in the entire world in the 1960s. Like, that's not an exaggeration. It's just his hat alone. You could still to this day show a picture of just his hat, and you will find somebody in many, many countries that will know exactly what that is to this day. Oh, yeah, that's that football coach's hat, right? And a lot of them will even know his name to this day, right? And him and my grandfather played high school football at the same high school, and that guy became world famous. It was national news when my grandfather passed. That Sports Center, New York Times articles, Sports Center covered it, and my grandfather was considered the best football player to ever come out of that high school. And then, but he's not even the most famous football player and coach. And my grandfather also coached. And then from my hometown, Don Hudson to this day is considered one of the probably top 3 or 4 wide receivers in NFL history. He was on the 75th, and he was basically considered the best receiver on the 75th anniversary team, maybe tied with Jerry Rice or whatever, right? Maybe, right? Like, what is this? And then Martha Mitchell's from my hometown. There's not a Watergate without her. And then more magical white boys, Elvis and goddamn Johnny Cash are from the general region, right? So something is going on there, right? There's something happening, and I have to assume it's psyops serving within Moloch's machine. It would have to be, right? I would think so. So, what is it? How did I get involved in all of that? Well, I don't know that I am involved in all of that, but I'm apparently directly descended from somebody who was involved in all of that to some extent. And there was this guy, another guy from Arkansas, played receiver, another guy that played the same position as my grandfather, the same position as Bear Bryant, the same position as Don Hudson from the same fucking part of Arkansas. Red Hickey, Hickey. You can Google that. He'll come. His fucking Wikipedia page will come right up. And when he passed, my dad went to the funeral with my grandfather, and we still have my family, for some reason, myself included, we have this tendency to not question things. But my dad says, yeah, at the funeral, my dad turned to me and said, after it was over with, said that was a Rosicrucian funeral or ceremony. What the hell does that mean? Well, it means at the minimum, my grandfather knew what Rosicrucian meant. Now, did he fully know what it meant? Did he, I don't know that he had that kind of burial, right? What does that mean? I don't fucking know. I know the man, my grandfather apparently, has the 33 code all over his fucking football career, right? What is that? I don't know. Can't tell you. Don't know. It's a mystery. I'll chalk a lot of it up to the delusion, this realm, right? And that's all dead, by the way. That's all dead, man. The fact that I can't prove that I did all that stuff on the basketball court, and the fact that it's apparently provable that my grandfather done what he done, when in reality, why? Because a record book says it, and there's an official record, because the official fiction says it. Because I know what I did. I know what I done. Which makes me suspect that my grandfather done that also. It's like, yeah, probably the same thing in me that was in him, you know. But what about my dad? It seemed to have skipped him, by the way, whatever that is, seemed to have skipped my father, who's as fucking flat-footed as they come. Actually, that's not true. He's got some agility. I shouldn't say that. He Definitely moves well. No burst, I guess. No sprinter's acceleration. That's all right. It's almost chocolate time. Dark chocolate. Shout out to the chat. If anybody's still around. What a blessing, by the way. What a blessing. And, that's the thing. It's all blessing, right? Or maybe my nature can't see it as a curse, right? Because, and it's part of this in Moloch's machine is all of this an attempt to, and so, by the way, if all of humanity, and if, okay, this is a lot of ifs, but if the individuals, and if it's not solipsism, by the way, another if, but if the individuals in the realm, engaged in business and all of this, the business of Moloch's machine, uh, in this spiritual war and this attempt on the part of this delusory realm to prove from its perspective that the invalidity of the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level. And that was so much setup, I think I lost my point. But let's see. Will it return? I believe it will. Maybe it never, maybe it did not escape entirely. Um, yeah, maybe it did, but that's okay. I feel like it's coming back, though. So it usually waits until I'm about to move on and comes rushing back. When love come to town, I'm gonna jump that train. When love come to town, I'm gonna catch that flame. Maybe I was wrong to ever let you down, but I did what I did before love came to town. And that, folks, is what? Forgiveness and repentance. Because if that's my nature, is one with the most super intelligent force of love possible, and it can't do all that bad shit, well, then that wasn't really me that did all that. Now, I'll own it and accept responsibility, as I would have to in order to be forgiven, right? And that the confession, right? The confession, maybe I was wrong to ever let you down, but I did what I did because I was not identified with the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, also known as my essence. There it is. Shout out to old BB King there. They said that BB King had a bunch of girlfriends, but that he, at a certain point, was impotent and incapable of fathering children. But his girlfriends would claim they would get knocked up and claim it was his, and then he would know it wasn't his, but he would just pay for it anyway. Some might say, "Well, that's a simp." I don't know, is it? Could have been Love Came to Town, I suppose. BB King grew up in Memphis, and I don't know that he ever gave a damn about them millions of dollars. He didn't really look. He didn't really look like he gave a damn about millions of dollars. He didn't really come across like he gave a damn about millions of dollars. Maybe he knew that's dead anyway. So, and that's part of yesterday. EBT asked me what would I do with $1 million. It's like, well, number one, that's dead, homie. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, it's interesting to fantasize and have a thought experiment around what would I do with $1 million. But the first thing I would do is realize that's dead. Hopefully, I would realize that. Well, that $1 million is dead. Render unto Caesar, let the dead bury the dead. Just like the truck going 68. Well, that shit's dead anyway, right? Let the dead bury the dead. The truck, it goes 68 only in the context of commerce and business, right? So it can't be personal, but it can feel personal, right? But it can be personal. What if this guy at the company, what if he, much like I used to, situationally might have a need or a desire to impose his will on another person? Well, back to the quickening spirit. Well, as long as I'm properly identified and I'm filled with the Holy Spirit to some extent, or Christ consciousness, perhaps, if we're calling it that, well, then what's the answer? It's always to move through the limitation. So it's Moloch's machine offering it's offering a limitation that I'm free to accept, right? So what is the evasive action? What is the evasive maneuver to escape the potential, the offer, the trap of the offer? Is to quicken the spirit by vibrating at a higher level. And then, okay, well, that's dead and that don't pertain to me. Because it seems to me, from the perspective of the perspective of the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, what is vibrating slower? Would that not seem to be dead? And again, I'm guessing. I don't know this. I'm speculating in this area. And then maybe not, but once that gulf grows large enough, perhaps it is effectively dead from that perspective, right? So really, a lot of what I'm reckoning with lately is, whatever Moloch's machine is going to continue to throw my way, but then I still have a lot of ingrained patterns that I will default to until the meditation practice. I notice, oh, well, why am I feeling this tension? Why am I feeling, agitated or anxious or stressed or afraid, right? Oh, improperly identifying within myself, right? Again, the practices that lead to the overarching practice. And what I love about all of this is I can write a book, I can do a series of lectures, I can go live every day and continue to explain my unfolding until the person rises within themselves to the level of being able to experience their own unfolding understanding or comprehension or apprehension in the positive sense. Listening will never lead them to that, because they will be limited by their own progress or lack thereof, as I was limited by my own progress or lack thereof. As, by the way, I continue to experience limitation. I will observably know when I reach, okay, wow, I actually reached the full point of being able to practice the manifestation of, through the continuous disciplining of my mind, right? Manifesting the truth of my essence or nature. By the way, perfectly in every new moment. Perfectly. Surprise, surprise, Moloch's machine basically made it heresy or blasphemy for me to even imply that I'm capable of perfectly expressing my nature over time. Fuck that. I reject that out of hand. That is some bullshit. And I'm angry with myself Although I won't be angry with myself in this moment, I'm choosing to allow myself to express some anger and experience anger because what a foolish, what a foolish way to approach it, right? How foolish of me, you know. If it's all blessings, Benton, how about you act like it, right? How about you act like it? I don't know what's going on up here, but we got the red and blues flashing. Somebody put it in the ditch up here. It looked like a big rig rolled over. Did a big rig roll? Oh no, he ran off the road and got stuck. It looks like what that is. Big rig put it in a ditch. Could have been a steer tire blowout. So it's not always just, oh, he fucking was looking at his phone or whatever. Or you never know. Maybe he had a heart attack and he's dead. Like, who the fuck knows? A lot of things, a lot of possibilities. Owner operator, most likely, based on the truck. So maybe he decided to exit the industry. And maybe he knows himself that knows this is his only way out. Right. And by the way, we talk about America and ideas around business and economy and owner operators. And, it's a never ending series of owner operators going belly up, every single day in truck driving. And nobody really cares. People will pretend to have sympathy or whatever, and they might feel pity, but, they've got their own problems and concerns, right? Of course they do. Poor little feller. Poor little feller. Yeah, I got any biscuits in there. I can do pretty good if I hear it first. Old sling blade. And that is, by the way, the magic of what I'm talking about here, the transcendence of my upbringing. I basically grew up in Sling Blade, the movie Sling Blade. If you drop a bunch of blacks everywhere in the movie, like so, exactly like the movie Sling Blade, except drop a bunch of black people everywhere. As long as there was black people everywhere in the film, literally everywhere but the community pool, then that's pretty close to what I grew up in. Right. Although again, my own house was I grew up on 5 acres in a nice house, you know, new cars in the driveway. Where are we going here? Oh, we're getting on the toll road. I need to pull over and go to the restroom. Might pull into this truck stop up here, maybe. Oh, I know where we are. I know where we're at. Yeah, I know exactly where we are. This is where I would go up to Veneta if I wasn't going to take the toll road. Veneta. Trying to think if there's anywhere to pull over at the toll plaza, but I don't think there is. You find a place to pull over real quick. Now we're a little too close to the on-ramp, though. Damn it. I want to block the on-ramp, or the side of the on-ramp, rather. Oh, this isn't even mine. Damn, I'm fucking this up. What are we doing, Ben? Yeah. Oh, I could have pulled over. Fuck. Oh, that is the truck stop. Maybe. All right. This is actually back during that Freedom Convoy or whatever the fuck it was. I'm right where at one of the truck stops they stopped. This was one of the stops. Big Cabin, Oklahoma, technically, is the town that I'm in right now. Yeah, Big Cabin. All right, I'm pulling over right here. Maybe. It's a bad place to stop if there was people around, but it's 2:40 a.m. It's dead, Bo. All right. One moment, please. Oh, man. A little stiff getting out of the seat there. Yeah, I'm starting to realize the part of stiffness and joint stuff is from age is that's caused by age if it's just here and there like situational. You know, the ongoing joint pain, I can almost guarantee, again, this is not medical advice, but I can almost guarantee is a direct result of the diet because I feel pretty fucking great at the level of my joints, but then, you know, I do have some stiffness and pain here and there, right? So I think some folks think that they feel like shit because they're old. It's like absolutely not. They feel like shit because of age and their poor diets. Meanwhile, it's almost dark chocolate time, which is a health food, by the way. Literal health food, superfood. I can't prove it. Well, I probably could prove it, but I suspect, you know, when they talk about fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease being so rampant, I suspect that dark chocolate would have a lot to do with reversing it. And I'm almost certain that egg yolks will. I'm almost certain of that. Remember, I myself, in a you know, physician know thyself or physician heal thyself or whatever. Let thy food be thy medicine. All that stuff. Yeah, I've applied all that to myself certainly with great success in the context of chronic, otherwise chronic illness or chronic illness, more correctly. See if we can need to back up a couple of feet to clear this curb. Yep, of course, that's the exact moment that somebody comes around the corner. How could it not be, right? I don't think any vehicles have even passed me this whole time. Now there's a bunch of them. Yeah. And that's just the only, I mean, it can't go any other way. Well, there's two of them anyway. I think I see a third coming. Oh, yeah. Get her done, Bo. All right. Is it chocolate time? I'm gonna finish this coffee. The mugs, they always leave a little bit in the bottom, but let's see if I can get the damn lid off. Oh yeah, we got it all. We got it. And what is it about almost all toll roads and motherfucking these long sweeping hairpin turns to get on and off? Why is that necessary? I don't get it. But whatever. Whatever. Yep, now we're on the big road. We're almost into Missouri. Now we're on the toll road with the higher speed limit. So now we're into sitting duck territory if I try to go 68. I already see a bunch of trucks. It's almost all trucks out here. I-44 East. Minimum speed 60. All right, chocolate time. I can't talk too much while I'm chewing, or I'll. Lately, I've been biting down on my broken tooth too much while I try to talk and eat. So I'll be right back. All right, we're back. What up, Provo? I saw you were live earlier. The man, the myth, the legend. I meant you, partner. Shout out to Provo. Christ is king, or more, well, not more correctly, but Christ is king. And if Christ ain't king, then that's probably an individual who's in the process of loving death, right? So more and more, I'm applying the inverse of a lot of these. It's like, okay, what if the person is not, behaving in accord with that? Such a notion. Yeah, Christ is king, but what if Christ ain't king? Meaning within an individual at the level of their free will. What if they're rebelliously refuse to acknowledge the kingdom within, right? In a biblical context, or in a an idea from the Bible, right? Maybe I'll go preach to some Christians based on their book, right? Say, well, maybe I'll what about ism their asses, right? I'll try not to, but I might. Yeah, here's the Veneta exit. Got to go up to Veneta to get through this area without taking the toll road, which is interesting. Kind of back to this 68-mile-an-hour speed limit. If they want me to drive slow, I'll drive slow. I've worked for companies where they don't, if sometimes you have to take a toll road, but some of the companies, they're just like, yeah, we don't want you taking the toll road. All right. My GPS has a don't take the toll road option, so no problem. Whatever. This company has not said one word about tolls, so I'm taking all the toll roads until they tell me not to. They give me a 75-mile-an-hour truck, I'm going 75 until you don't tell me not to or turn the motherfucking truck down. Of course, they tried to tell me, but here's where again am I being gaslit? So was I the only one hauling ass everywhere? Because I have worked for a company before, and just I wasn't supposed to be in a 75-mile-an-hour truck because the whole company was at 70 or maybe 71 if they sweet talked the boss somehow. But I guess prior to that, a lot of the trucks were 75, and I just happened to get one that was still at 75, right? I'm going 60, 64 and a 75 right now. Like, I don't give a fuck, man. We're going to get there. Well, if it's within my control, we're going to get there. So what I would say about the Christ is king is, well, if Christ ain't king, then what is king? It'd have to be death, wouldn't it? What else could be king then, right? And I'm talking about specifically within, an individual's sphere of influence, right? Who or what is the master of that discrete, what may be a discrete spiritual being, right? The delusion that it's possible to break off a chunk of the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, and then place it into this delusory realm of death and destruction and decadence and depravity. That would have to involve the D of delusion, right? Seems to me like it would. How could it not? From the perspective of, maybe the most super intelligent force of love possible is not able to relate to this, but from a perspective, the entirety of the proposition and the antithesis, and if there's a justifiable need or purpose for this realm, that's all delusion, right? Like it's the delusion that that love, doesn't conquer all, right? But oh, but Benton, I thought you said there's always exceptions to everything. Well, all right, touche, right? Certainly not in this delusion. I don't see love conquering all in this delusion now. Now are we back to the power of the kingdom of the most super intelligent force of love possible? If that's what's within me, then clearly I would have the capacity to tap into that and master, right? Or more correctly, allow that force to be the master by getting out of my own way, by refusing to love death, right? Or from turning away from Moloch's machine and the business of this realm, right? They say love don't pay the bills. Well, what does paying the bills serve, by the way? Oh, well, I got kids. Well, I don't. Sorry about your luck. And I don't mean that as an insult or pejoratively, but I don't. So what's you having kids got to do with me, Jack? I wasn't foolish enough to bring new life into this realm of delusion, death, depravity, destruction, uh, you know, and on and on and on. That's you, partner. What's that got to do with it, right? That sound like a personal problem to me. I say, oh, it's the greatest blessing, the greatest blessing. Well, hey, then where's my sympathy? Where's my empathy? Because I'll never experience it, most likely. So, you know, how come I detect, not from anybody present right now, but sometimes I detect a little bit of jealousy. Maybe my family. I'm the only one never replicated. They might be a little jealous of old Benton here. Well, sorry about your luck. But meanwhile, where's my empathy? Where's the compassion towards little old Benton here? Poor little feller Benton. He'll never know. What a lot of folks would say is more or less that's like the highest calling possible, right? To bring new life into this realm and raise it up properly. Well, it's going to struggle. It's going to experience suffering. That new within the delusion, by the way, So okay, that's one of the greatest blessings possible is to seemingly entrap and ensnare to serve as part of the mechanism and biological means of bringing a new Nancy Pelosi's MS-13 spark of divinity, right? The delusion that it's possible to break off a chunk of an indivisible force and entrap and ensnare it here. But again, that force is not it's not capable of fearing. And probably, again, when love comes to town, would just say, well, if I can be entrapped and ensnared and incentivize me a Moloch's machine in business to serve death, destruction, and all of this, well, I guess I'm not that thing I claimed to be in the first place. So let's get it on, bitch. Let's get it on, bitch. I'm going to make Moloch my bitch. How you like them apples, Moloch? How you like them apples, Moloch? But Moloch might say, well, shit, put it on me. I like it. I say, oh, that's creepy. See, now we're into, certain depictions from South Park involving, a personification of evil, right? Satan. What Lil Nas X videos of, having carnal knowledge of Satan himself, right? Again, humanizing a force or a concept. I've moved beyond all this man in the sky talk. I could be wrong. I don't think I am. But that's how awesome I am, by the way. That's how powerful and fantastical my essence is, that the antithesis of my nature has made an entire fucking realm and a machine comprised of systems and machines that, as far as I can tell, via business is solipsistically, seemingly solely directed at disproving the validity of what I am. By the way, if I'm dumb enough to internalize such notions, so I don't know, man. In this poker game, in this metaphorical poker game, it seems to hint as to what my opponent in the spiritual world suspects is the power of the cards I'm holding, Jack. And what do we see with a lot of these bozos? Not Provo, of course, but a lot of these bozos in the so-called truth community. Maniacs who raise all bets, meaning, oh, you made a bet and I can choose to fold. Well, how about I raise the bet and now you get to choose to fold if you want to. And just always putting off into the future, right? Because maybe the person me, by the way, who's perhaps identifying lately with my true essence, as much or more than other folks, right? Well, we'll at least give that person the chance to fold his hand, right? Because and by the way, who's their master that they're serving? These people I'm talking about. Seems to me like they're serving Moloch's machine, right? And what better way to prove who their master is than to see if they can go out here and get old Benton to fold his powerful holdings, right? I folded top full house one time on the river in a pot limit Omaha game online. And the only way I could fold that hand is I got to be convinced that my opponent has quad queens in this case, right? And by the way, part of the reason people call with the top full house in that situation is they can't live with not knowing, right? Maybe they got bluffed. See? Well, these maniacs, you're not going to bluff a maniac. The only way to deal with a maniac, the maniacal Moloch's machine, is I got to wait till the motherfucking showdown and table my hand, Jack. It's all about tabling my hand at the showdown. And what is the showdown? Judgment, if that's a thing. It's all about getting to that showdown because, surprise, surprise, here's the maniacs on behalf of Moloch's machine. Oh, you're out here making an assertion, Benton? Well, we raised that bet. Well, wait a minute. You raised the last one and the one before that and the one before that? Yeah, we're going to raise the next one too. We're always going to offer you the chance to fold your powerful, what might be very powerful card. We're always going to give you that opportunity to throw your hand in the muck. Also known as your birthright. What is my birthright? Oneness with the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, aka the kingdom of that force is within me. That's my birthright. That's my holdings at the showdown. So, the judgment. Oh, you mean when I get to the end of the game and I flip my hand over and the judge says that's you, meaning that's also me, and we're that's you and each other, right? In the meme, or the inverse of the meme, or that's me. Maybe I get to the judgment and flip my cards over, and the judge is like, well, shit, that's me. That's me. And then the enemy wants to be able to say misdeal. The enemy wants to say, well, wait a minute, maybe I can convince them that there's, there's 5 sixes in the deck or whatever, right? Oh, misdeal. We got to do this again. What if that's the soul trap? What if the soul trap is in this metaphorical poker game, we get to the showdown, and then through legalese and convincing me to accept certain things, now the antithesis is like, well, actually, it's a misdeal. We invite you to go on to the next deal of poker. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I thought I've been told that this is the only hand, that I'm dealt one hand and one hand only, meaning one earthly experience. Wait a minute. What about all that? Which is it? So now it's reincarnation. Now you're going to tell me I can go back? I can go back to the next hand? What is this? Right? And once I know that, this place can't touch me. Do your worst. Because how am I going to do my best unless this realm throws its worst at me? Well, my essence ain't capable of doing anything less than the best, but I digress. But again, Christ is a quickening spirit. Oh, you think you got me entrapped in a particular aspect of the business of life within this delusion? Let the dead bury the dead, render unto Caesar style. Oh, you pin me down? Well, I'm just going to Top Gun this bullshit, turn on the afterburners of the quickening spirit, and I just got the fuck out of Dodge, partner. I just got the fuck up out of Dodge, partner. What you gonna tell me? What you gonna tell me? Woo! And until I see another, I'm going just to what's keeping you from getting on this level and then surpassing. Don't get on Benton's level and stay there. I ain't staying on this level. Quickening spirit. I'm gonna keep it moving, Jack. I'm gonna keep it moving, Jack. Woo! What I got, you got to get it, put it in you. Moloch's machine says, yeah, your mind's in the gutter. Absolutely not. That might be a metaphor for a person finally saying, well, shit, I'm here. I'm here in the spiritual war, and I know I'm a spirit. Why not just go ahead and knock off all the foolishness of serving Moloch's machine? Why the fuck not? And develop myself within my sphere of influence, not like Benton has. Right? Because your development of all of that will, of course, be different than my development. But by the way, I'll be happy to give you a pointer here and there. I can help you debug. But see, I can't debug a system until you make a system. And I can't create a system and then give it to you. See, that's only ever going to serve Moloch's machine. This idea that, oh, okay, well, I can go read a book. I can learn a system, whether it's a religion, whether it's the Tao, the fucking Bhagavad Gita, Hindu, whatever. That's all dead. That's all dead, man. It's all dead. The only life I have direct access to is within my sphere of influence. Anything living outside of my sphere of influence, I don't have access to. I cannot directly address, right? Meanwhile, Moloch's machine, in the context of business, got everybody out here dissipating their own energies externally where they have effectively zero power. Right? Oh, but we can make the case for being a tiny bit persuasive of the people around us. Okay, you have 0.00001% power outside of yourself. Yay. How about you tap into that 99.99999% where a slight little bit of teeny tiny effort directed in that area every single motherfucking day of the rest of your life. If that's long enough, that will absolutely add up to a great change. Oh, but you need a reward right here, right now. You haven't developed a system for delaying of gratification because Moloch's machine has already put the thought in your head of, well, what if I do all of this and deny myself pleasure and deny myself sensation and deny myself in the way other people view me? What if I sacrifice and do all that and there's not a payoff? Oh, ye of little faith, by the way. Oh, ye of little faith, by the way. Oh, you need a little piece of candy every moment for doing what is most likely in yours and everybody else's best interest. You need a little pat on the head, a little piece of candy. Is that what you need? You need a sucker with your little spinner hat on while you're sitting on the carpet, bouncing your little ball on the paddle, sucking your motherfucking thumb with your security blanket. Mama's gonna wander by and every once in a while, and then Daddy's gonna come home and spin the fucking spinner on your hat, there, little fella. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself, because it's off to the metaphorical salt mines. So if you still identify with that spirit, well, that's good on some level. But Moloch's machine says, yeah, we know you're going to continue to identify with that spirit of spiritual innocence and purity, you know, and this ridiculous notion, that comical version of the child from the cartoon sucking his thumb with the ball on the string and the paddle and the fucking spinner hat, right? And in a lot of ways, spiritually, this what's happening within this machine is, it's actually, I realized early on, this is where I started. I came into this realm and had it all. And then this realm sullied me and indoctrinated me and installed a psychology, and all of this has happened. And I've fallen away, the fall of man, and I've fallen away from where I started. Right. So what are all the practices? What is all the walk? It's baby steps and folly and foolishness, but towards progressing towards a return to where I started, which was what? Manifesting my essence into this realm. Isn't that what when they're not crying bloody fucking murder, isn't that what the babies does and the young toddler, right? Lighten up the room with their spirit, right? And then got to be taught business, got to be taught, how to learn to do all these things to go off and serve Moloch's machine, right? They say, well, I got kids. Well, yeah, you do, because somebody else had kids. So that's how Moloch's machine operates, is because you were a kid and somebody looked around at Moloch's machine and said, well, I got kids, so I'm not going to develop myself within the context of this spiritual war because I have children. And then their children grew up and at some point maybe came to understand some of these concepts I'm elucidating and said, well, I got kids. And Moloch's machine just says, yeah, we got your ass. We got you, partner. So keep having kids to keep signing off on what Moloch's machine's doing. See? Yeah, your kids are the fodder for the continued perpetuation and operation of Moloch's machine. So yeah, way to go. Woo! Job well done. Shout out to a job well done. I don't know. Did Christ father any children physically? Not in the Bible. Well, we got a whole religion talking about be Christ-like. Everybody fucking making kids, but be Christ-like. I don't know, where was Christ fucking and making kids in the Bible, y'all? Where was Christ taking wives in the Bible, y'all? But we got a whole the historically dominant religion of the country, and that's what we're talking about. Make America great again. That's the Moloch's machine programming. That's what that means. Go back to fucking and making new people to serve Moloch's machine and go and do it in the name of Christ. And a whole religion around being Christ. Like, oh, you mean follow the example of a historical person that, as far as we know, never did either thing, did not take a wife, as far as we know, didn't do no fucking, and did not have any offspring, and in fact, according to the story of the Bible, was not even the result of two humans fucking. But yeah, go off into Moloch's machine and do a whole bunch of fucking and take multiple wives, by the way, just not simultaneously. Christianity absolutely believes in multiple wives. You just can't have more than one at a time. I've had two. I'm hoping there's not going to be a third, but that's not entirely up to me now, is it? See, Christianity proves itself to not be, it can't possibly be the genuine article solely based on it will not go far enough towards expressing Christ consciousness, or more correctly, allowing for the possible expression of Christ consciousness. Maybe if I, maybe if they let me preach at the revival, the tent revival, maybe, right? Maybe, you know, or they might tear me limb from limb after hearing what I have to say. Who knows? I can't call it. State line, 16 miles. Again, this is a revolution, right? What, by the way, what's the spirit of an actual revolution, right? Or more correctly, whatever we think the word revolution means in the context of Moloch's machine, which it does not represent that, right? It doesn't represent what we think it means. But would that not describe a quickening spirit, a revolution? This is a revolution within me. But what has Moloch's machine taught everybody? Oh yeah, Benton's saying the word revolution. That means we all get together and behave in specific ways. Absolutely not. I didn't say where is the revolution. I said this is a revolution. I did not. Are you assuming that you know what I mean by this? What I mean is what's going on within this energy sphere or sphere of influence, within the being that's apparently speaking, right? And you're hearing whoever I am and whoever you are, right? Do you even know who and what you are? I know who and what I am. That was not always the case. Has not a single person asked me, okay, well, Benton, we hear you saying that you can recognize in the past, at times in the past, you were not aware of who and what you were, and now you are 100% certain. How did you make that happen? How and where, by the way, because the where is always inside my sphere of influence. How? Nobody wants to know how because they know they're not finna do it. They know they're going to stay just like they are. And my thing is, what is the fucking point of coming to this realm of delusion and death and destruction and decadence and depravity, and to have the potential and to see the opportunity to practice and to level up and say, no, I'm good. I'm good, fam. No, I'm good. Well, now I know what you are on some level by your rebellious refusal to do what you might discover in the process is in fact in yours and everybody's best interest, if I'm willing to be specific enough about what all of that means, right? Speaking quite broadly, right? So I know you ain't shit. I know you, the listener, ain't shit solely based on your fucking rebellious refusal to facilitate the internal revolution that could possibly occur. That you will not learn how to get out of your own way enough to allow the quickening spirit to enter in. That's how I know you ain't shit. Provably how I know you ain't shit, from my perspective. Yeah, I'm still willing to, treat you with respect to some extent, but you ain't shit if you're listening to this and you know, because if you're doing what I'm suggesting, that's what you're doing. 12 years ago, I could not have described what this was going to lead. What I was doing 12 years ago, I did not have an ability to express what that was going to be. I couldn't have described it, but I was 100% certain, although, okay, I wasn't. There had to be room for doubt. I trusted and had faith and did not need a motherfucking pat on the head. I didn't need a little reward for doing what was in my best, what I knew to be in my best interest anyway. At least to allow myself to have the potential that maybe it's possible to one day be able to experience true knowledge of self. And I might not live long enough, but if it's worth doing of its own merits, I don't need to be patted on the head or rewarded. Child, child. That's what a child needs. And I see grown adults can't get through the day without their little reward, whatever that is. Their little fast food reward. Their little Monster Energy drink reward. That's dead. That's dead. Keep worshiping death. Keep loving death. That's on you. That can't never be on me as long as I don't join you there. That's all. And then, by the way, back to the solipsism. All that motherfucking matters here is that I express my essence moment to moment. I don't have nothing to do with you motherfuckers loving death, if that's the case. If that's the case. Because what I am don't know nothing about that. What I am don't know nothing about that. Have at it. Let the dead bury the dead, render unto Caesar. Have fun. I never knew you. What you gonna tell me? Nothing. Because you can't. Because whatever you think you can tell me, if I'm expressing my nature as a quickening spirit, oh well, Top Gun, turn on the afterburners, evasive action. You can only kill the messenger. All you can do is get me to fall away from proper identification, and that's me doing that, and to temporarily refuse to express my nature and internalize your bullshit to serve Moloch's machine. See? And yeah, do I hell, I'm serving it right now, driving this truck. It's dead. Moloch's machine is dead. This truck is dead. Let the dead bury the dead. My essence can't die. My essence can't be killed. That's what render unto Caesar means. It means let the dead bury the dead. It means Caesar has dedicated his life, literally and metaphorically, to the riches of this world. Well, the riches of this world are dead. All they that hate their own essence love death. Meaning the people who refuse through rebellion, whether they know or not, to express their own nature, absolutely serve this realm of death and destruction. And if enough motherfuckers do it simultaneously, the enemy's going to press that plunger, pause the motherfucking simulation, and appeal via legalese and say, hey, Sodom and Gomorrah, motherfuckers. It looks to me like you can't find one person in this Sodom and Gomorrah that will express, the proposition is now disproven. The antithesis has now taken complete hold, right? 100% Antichrist in this bitch. What percent Antichrist is this bitch already? This realm of death, depravity, destruction, decadence, and on and on and on. What percentage of Antichrist is this motherfucker already? Because they want to talk about, oh, there's going to be Antichrist. The realm is Antichrist, you fucking morons. And apologies for being insulting. My apologies. That was out of bounds. I apologize. That was not the spirit of love and forgiveness. I'm talking to myself on some level. Antichrist is when the motherfucking antithesis of the most super intelligent force of love possible so thoroughly captures humanity that the entirety of humanity at the level of subversion of creative force creates Antichrist. That's what this place is. I just beat the game. It's over. It's a wrap. I'm done. I'm cashing out my chips. Mission accomplished. Right? It's y'all's job to extract whatever resources you can get out of Benton. I've figured it out. I declare victory. I can't be defeated by this realm. This realm can't defeat me. What I am can't be defeated by this realm. So If the Antichrist is ever going to fully express, it's going to be after my physical death. It can't happen. Antichrist can never fully express as long as I remain on my present trajectory and as long as I'm here. And that's all I control after I'm gone. Not my business, not my concern. If whatever's left after I'm gone fucks it up, not my problem. I'll be somewhere else with the rest of my nature. One with the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest levels, and are more wicked spirits about to flee. Because now I'm speaking in a type of way that anything short of that quickening spirit that has chosen through legalese to inhabit this energy sphere, it can't stand this type of talk, y'all. Woo! Praise Almighty God in the mighty name of Christ Jesus. Jesus Christ is Lord, because it don't want nothing to do with this. Because you know which spirits in the realm are the most sure of everything I'm saying? The wicked spirits, the unclean spirits, and the demonic spirits. They know they can't be redeemed. They know they can't never leave this place. This is their home. I ain't from here. This will never be my home, this delusion. Ever. And I ain't got no control over what every other little aspect entrapped in delusion after delusion after delusion in the larger delusion, which is the idea that it's possible to break off a chunk of a force that cannot be divided and entrap it and ensnare it into a delusion. See, I don't have the one speaking to you don't have nothing to do with all those other little aspects of delusion. I've resolved the delusions that I'm interfacing with. See, within me, which is, by the way, a delusion. The idea that Benton is even exists at all as a discrete being in this realm of death, destruction, and all of this, that don't even exist. That's dead, motherfucker. That's dead. That's the resurrection. That's the living Christ, by the way. You can't have Antichrist with a living Christ in the realm, in the delusion, because the only way the enemy can win is within the delusion, within the realm of death and destruction, to say, well, actually, look at these beings and that MS and Nancy Pelosi's MS-13 spark of divinities in them, right? But it's allowed itself to become so buried and extinguished. I'm going to let my little light shine, right? This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine can't be made to stop shining. There is not a force in existence that can cause my little light to not shine, except if I identify closely enough with these delusions. That is the only possible victory of the enemy. It's the very proposition that this little light of mine can be made not to shine. Yeah, if I agree to that, sure. At the level of legalese, if I participate in that, sure. Outside of that, absolutely not. This world and this realm and this death and this destruction can't touch this little light of mine, which it turns out is greater than anything any of us will ever know. At least at the level of what's provable and demonstrable at a collective level. So if you're in the collective, if you're operating at any level other than your discrete individual sphere of influence within these delusions, Moloch got you. Moloch got you. If you look into what are these other people going to do? If you're looking at, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, You know what I know we're going to do? If it involves a we, we're going to serve Moloch's machine if it involves a we. What we're not going to do is individually come to the understanding that I'm expressing and elucidating and do that collectively because the collective versions of that will only ever serve Moloch's machine. That's the way this motherfucking trap is designed. And it's designed to do that as perfectly as possible. Surprise, surprise. Look at the silly humans always bringing it to the external and the collective, refusing to bring it to the internal and the individual. Now I know where the power is. All I got to do is watch what never works. All I got to do is watch what only ever serves Moloch's machine and death and destruction, and just not do that. Meaning the moment, oh well, we just got to do this and we just got to do that. Yeah, okay, serve Moloch. That's what the end result of whatever is being proposed via we is, whether it's a religion, a government, any organization or system of man at the level of we is going to serve Moloch in these delusions. So keep operating based on the delusions that you've chosen to accept. I will not join you there, except when I fall into my own error and folly. I'll accidentally be with you there for a moment or two, and then I will be like, wait a minute, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling some type of way? Oh yeah, that's right. I temporarily failed to properly identify within myself. So I guess I'll go back to identifying with my true nature. And I can come on here live and say this every day till I'm blue in the face. And I have absolutely no power to cause any of you to transform yourselves through these mechanisms and means. And honestly, doesn't really matter. Honestly, what? So what? So fucking what? It's the enemy that has to capture all of us simultaneously. As long as even one of us is here expressing what I'm preaching on, there can be no Antichrist. Antichrist is impossible as long as one of us is here expressing what I've expressed. That's it. It only takes one. Antichrist got to get everybody to be able to pause the simulation, to pause the delusion and say, legalese, legalese. I get to, and then now Antichrist gets to plausibly at the level of legalese say, well, it turns out I was Christ all along. Not me, but that force. That's what this is, y'all. That's what this is. Have fun. Enjoy yourselves. Slogans. TA Truck Service, gigantic LED billboard. You break down, we show up. That's dead, motherfuckers. That's dead. However, a person is made to feel by that slogan is dead. Fucking Moloch's machine. The fuck out of here, man. Fuck out of here with that. Anyway, be right back. I'm gonna eat the rest of the chocolate. And what I love, my favorite part of all this is there's not a damn thing any of you in that chat can add to what I'm saying. Not nothing. You can have an opinion and you can type into that chat box all you want. I'm the only person in this so-called truth community capable of breaking all of this down and explaining all of this in this way. Why is that? Because I'm the only one who's developed and done the work. That's why. That's why. I believe all of you have the potential to reach your own versions of being able to apprehend this. But guess what? Not through fakery, right? Not through let's fake it till we make it. Nope. Not until a person's willing to put in the work and rise and bring their level up, mind, body, and spirit. And I'll never stop. However long this goes, I'll never stop leveling up, right? And I learned a lot recently as I was on the precipice of breaking through to this new level because, you know, it's like, yeah, there's the smaller versions of leveling up, and some of that is just, you know, new practices, more efficient practices, right? I used to have autistic meltdowns, and then over time it was less and less often, and then, you know, now it's effectively never, right? Or when it starts, I notice it and I'm able to head it off at the pass. You know, that sort of things. But the recent breakthrough to the new level, I can see that I didn't know this at the time, but I was about to break through to that next level. And then, you know, there was a specific person I was having a lot of interaction with, you know, the so-called back channels within the so-called community. And it's not a community, right? It's not. But whatever this is, it's a fucking collective cope session most of the time. But whatever, doesn't matter. It's dead. I mean, it's dead, certainly. Belongs to this realm of death and destruction, absolutely. Render unto Caesar. Let the dead bury the dead. But, and that's where I got the concept of cheer the level up. Because here's the reality is, I can come on here, I can sound insulting, I can castigate people for refusing to work towards my level, or maybe they think they are, but they're really not, because where's the progress, you know? Or maybe they have progressed and they're going to continue to progress. What, it's either there or it's not. The fact that I see it or don't see it means nothing. So that's all a matter of perspective. But then, so a particular person that I was having a lot of interactions with had a very specific reaction to the topics and the way my discourse was going, that was actually was headed in the direction of the recent breakthrough. And even before the recent breakthrough, I realized, well, why am I know I'm leveling up. I just thought it was little level ups. I didn't realize it was actually, oh, a big level, or the big level up, if that's even a thing. And then so that person actually, you know, temporarily I allowed them to thwart my efforts. And I was spiritually attacked by Moloch's machine through this person, right? Spiritually. And, you know, which says a lot about not them as a person, but what's the agenda? What's the motivation? Who is the master, right? Because there's only one discrete being in the realm that I'm able to prove moment to moment what master is being served. Moment to moment. Only one, and that's me within my own sphere of influence. Whatever the other delusions, by the way, these, you know, the idea that it's possible to break off a piece of the indivisible force, right? That idea, you know, from that perspective, if that's even possible, again, now I can only really even address those concepts within the context of a delusion, right? Delusion. Well, I don't have nothing to do with the rest of the delusions, except that those delusions serving one of the two masters, and every one of these beings, if that is their essence, has a creative force that never lies dormant ever. And so that means in a delusion of time and space, within that delusion of that there is a new moment. Now, each little delusion is, each aspect is creating and can't not create, right? And each new moment is serving one of two masters, right? So what master is that delusion that I was interfacing with, that personality, that purportedly discrete being, serving death and serving destruction, whether they know it or not. And by the way, it can never be my mission to cause them or to try to get them or convince them to serve what? Their own nature? By doing what? By connecting with themselves, inside of themselves, and taking ownership of their own creative force? That's their business. But Moloch's machine would otherwise convince me that that's now my mission solely based on the present level of understanding. That's dead, Moloch. Let the dead bury the dead. Render unto Caesar style. So now I get to metaphorically take up my cross at any time of my choosing. So at this point, what am I doing? Enjoying the Federal Reserve notes and being able to purchase, specific products and certain foods, right? And to have internet service and to show off my attainments on a live stream, right? That's all dead, by the way. Mm, mm. Here's the delusion, y'all. Within the context of the larger delusion of this realm, so the realm was a delusion. That's the overarching delusion. So what we believe to be our lives individually, the idea of, this life, right? Like Grant's modern life, by the way, the idea of this life, what is that? What's its nature in this context of the larger delusion, Moloch's machine, based on the master being served and all of this? By the way, this includes Benton until very recently, including Benton up until the recent breakthrough. This life is dead. What is meant when any of us accepts the notion of, quote, this life, what is meant by that? And more correctly, what is the nature of that? Death, it's dead. Let the dead bury this life. Render this life unto Caesar, by the way. What is to take up my cross? That's the revolution. That's the quickening spirit of, hey, all right, I see you, death. I see you, Caesar. Y'all ain't shit. Y'all ain't much. Y'all can't touch this. No. Can't touch this. Right? Whatever that, my essence. Can't touch this. Moloch's machine says, well, you better get rich or die trying. Why? Because I'm closely identified with this experience being my life. This ain't my life. This ain't my life. This is whatever I am, apparently being convinced or otherwise agreeing to experience a delusion within a delusion, going from delusion to delusion to delusion to delusion, raised up by parents that are in their own delusion, right? A seemingly never-ending series of delusions. The only way out is through, quickening spirit style. This is a revolution, right? This life is dead. If it can end, was it ever alive? Right? Like, go find the beginning of the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest levels of vibrational energy. Go find me the beginning of that, please. Oh, well, wait a minute. Now, in order to do that, we're invoking time and space and a place and a now and a where and a here and a now. Sounds like a delusion to me. That sounds like a delusion to me. Huh. Interesting. 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 I reckon I'm going to continue to preach it and teach it. And if some of them want to take up their own cross metaphorically, let them. And if not, so what? Because after this earthly life, after this, delusion known as Benton draws his last breath and heart quits, beats his last time, last beat of this heart, right? It's not up to me anymore who wins the spiritual war in this delusion. Now, perhaps it's off to the next delusion. I don't fucking know. Whatever. I'm pretty sure the revolution is I've now proven to whatever needs to be proven. If there's such a concept of a judgment or, approving of my metal, right? Whatever that means. I'm pretty sure I've already shown and proven that there's really no reason to send Benton back here, right? But what if the war or the game is, well, we're just going to keep sending it back here and find out if it's really Benton or not, right? Meaning, if we drop, this particular essence, this, particular delusion, drop him in the deep south into this particular type of upbringing, and millions upon millions of trials over time, by the way. And oh look, turns out one of them figured it the fuck out and lived it. One of them out of 10 million or however many, born into similar circumstances as me, or however many that is. Is that the point? Right? Eventually, you'll get at least one in a time frame in which it's never possible for Moloch's machine and the simulation to be paused at the level of Antichrist being able to appeal to legalese and be like, well, turns out, got them, 100% of them, refusing to let their little light shine because because they've become convinced that that's even possible, right? Because they've been lied to and misled into creating and directing their own efforts towards creating blockages within themselves that make it impossible for their light to shine, right? Well, old Benton grew up out of where he grew up out of, and it turned out in a long enough, if you let him practice over enough years, enough moment to moment, day to day, week to week, year to year, decade to decade, eventually that, well, in fact, unless he creates his own blockages to letting his light shine, his light can't do nothing but shine. Therefore, Antichrist can never fully express. And at some point, it's old Benton looking at 99% of the rest of these motherfuckers going, why y'all manifesting an Antichrist, bozos? By refusing to manifest your own quickening spirit essence of the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest levels of vibrational energy. You dummies. And forget about getting on my level, surpass my level. Shout out to Kim Before the Storm. I went round and round with Kim Before the Storm so much, I finally just told him, I said, listen, man, I'm not the final boss of this shit. I said, if you can't get past me, that's a you problem. What the fuck what's wrong with you? And he actually, I'm pretty sure, understood what the fuck I meant. And probably in his own way has already surpassed me. Most likely. Because whatever momentum will bring you to my current level, by the time you get there, I'm not on that level anymore. Meanwhile, keep it moving. I might backslide. I might pass you. I might pass you on your way up. I might be going back down. That's all. That's possible. I don't think so. It's possible, right? I have to allow for the possibility. Within the delusion, I'm always free to identify with delusion again. And in fact, on a daily basis, still do to some extent. Woke up and identified with delusion this morning. Did not fucking stay there for very long. The little death Hell, bring on the big death, because the realm can never do its worst to me. The realm can't do the worst. Its worst to me after the big death, which ain't even the big death, by the way. There is no big death. Turns out. How about that? How about that, truthers? All right, time to plug my phone in. I might wait a little while. I don't want to switch over to the 5G just yet by plugging in the phone. Playing the drums on the steering wheel here. Y'all probably can't hear it with the noise canceling. It don't make no matter. It don't make no matter. It's all about showing improving in this realm, just like this faster big rig caught me. And the way I got him to pull out the pass was I dropped 1 mile an hour. Why did he pull out the pass? Because he wanted to wait to see, because maybe I would speed up. And the moment I proved that I wasn't going to speed up, he pulled out the pass. This realm's all about showing improving. Or more correctly, Moloch's machine is all about getting you to continue to not show and prove, while simultaneously convincing you that you are the proof, that you are the show, that you are making America great again, that you are American exceptionalism, right? Because what better way to prove to you that you are American exceptionalism than to bring the the basket of by emptying out the third world jails and bringing them to America. Well, now by comparison, you are the cream of the crop. If we bring a bunch of undesirables here, right? What are considered undesirables? So you're going to bring a bunch of people here who are willing to sell out to corporations, and Moloch's machine is going to let you feel superior to them, and you've sold out to corporations, and the recent versions of Benton, right? And I talk about corporations, and I love Starbucks, Amazon, and Walmart. How does that work, right? Well, I don't, but whatever is identified with the delusion loves all of that, right? That's a delusion. The fact that it's even possible to interface in that way. But yeah, I'm willing to take advantage of what Walmart, Supercenters, Amazon app, shopping app, and you know Starbucks coffee has to offer. Although I had Pilot Flying J coffee this morning, and high quality, 100%. Although I'm sure it's not 100%, but whatever's masquerading as 100% cocoa chocolate with no sugar, whatever that is. That I bought at the Supercenter, by the way. These eggs I bought at the Supercenter. Whatever, I don't know what them chickens are eating. Finally, Amazon finally made my way to a Whole Foods Amazon counter. Got re-upped on my ginger honey crystals, and it's amazing. 1 day of being back, or 2 days of being back on the ginger honey crystals, and I'm like, wow, what have I been doing to my motherfucking kidneys? My kidneys are they're like, yeah, we're used to that ginger. Don't miss us with the ginger. And I substituted with ginger powder, but it ain't quite the same. Something about that extract. My kidney said, ooh wee, ooh wee. And I'm here to tell you, you think you're going to get to Benton's level and continue to eat this junk food and Monster energy drinks and whatever junk food you like, whether for me it was Snicker bars. And before that, as a child, it was a lot of Little Debbie and, Hostess frosted honey buns. And at a certain point, the Little Debbie was better than I don't know how that ever happened, but that they turned into not shit, right? I'm not telling you anything I haven't experienced because we very quickly we make eating into an identity and a moral thing. Oh, Benton, well he must be one of them health nuts. There's no fucking way any of you had a worse diet than I had as a child. Up until I would say I didn't even begin to correct my diet until I was about 29, probably. So 0 to 29, I ate just about the worst diet possible. I got married in Jamaica, didn't like the food. Here's what I ate for an entire week: plates of French fries for a whole fucking week because we had unlimited. As long as I ate at the resort, right? I didn't even like the jerk chicken because why? Because I was so unhealthy that the spice started triggering a detox reaction and I didn't feel good when I ate. And by the way, it was way too spicy. So people are like, oh, I don't like spicy food. It's because your body is filled with adulterants and chemicals, most likely. And food that isn't even really spicy causes your body to start to excrete those toxins, right? It's why I can just cayenne powder, no problem, right? Because my body, in comparison, is much less impure than yours. That's why. Meanwhile, mine started out way more polluted than yours ever was. I can almost guarantee you. Almost guarantee it. I've never met another person who was as picky of an eater as I was as a young person. Ever. Ever. Part of how we discovered that I have a far greater willpower than anybody in my family except maybe my middle sister, although I'm, utilizing the advantages of testosterone, I'm still pretty sure I could outdo her, but she'd give me a run for my money in willfulness. But about the age of 7 or 8, they decided, okay, little Benton, you're not leaving the dinner table till you eat them green beans. And little Benton said, well, I don't know what to tell you because I'm going to sit here however long it takes. I ain't going nowhere if y'all think I'm finna eat them green beans. And then eventually it was after dark. It was bedtime. And they finally said, all right, go to bed. And I proved, well, I have the greatest willpower. Now, I didn't understand it on those terms, right? I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I'm not going to eat them green beans and you can't make me, right? Yeah, happy, happy, joy, joy. That's right. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, joy. Happy, 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 happy. I was a gigantic Ren and Stimpy fan when it first came out. Of course, how could I not be? In fact, because I experienced the internet so many years before most of you, I was actually able to download and watch Ren and Stimpy, like, not that long after it made its TV debut through news groups, Usenet. Happy, 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 happy. I'll teach your grandmother to suck eggs. Subversive, by the way. The overall description of Ren and Stimpy, its original form, starting as a business in Moloch's machine, then became, as it more and more served Moloch's machine, it of course became less and less subversive over time, of course, because that's how that works. That's how that works. So maximally serve Moloch's machine, it's going to need to appeal to a least common denominator or the most amount of people possible, meaning, well, we're going to need to get rid of some of this subversion in order to reach a larger audience. That's how that works. Only a small portion of the audience is going to be attracted to this subversion. Right? Fuck your couch company. Fuck your drive tires company. I was trying not to fall off that little edge there and potentially damage the tires, but I'm less concerned because they've shown what they think of me. But in Moloch's machine, it's Moloch's machines. To serve Moloch's machine will necessarily limit the at which the company can treat me well, right? That's how that works. And back to this idea of taking a wife or whatever, it's like, okay, but in a Christian context, you're telling me to be Christ-like. How do I do that without doing what Christ did, or more correctly, not doing what Christ didn't do? Meaning not taking a wife, not siring offspring, right? Oh, but be Christ-like. Okay, by not doing what Christ did. So you want me to go to church? Christ didn't go to church, although yeah, he went to the temple or whatever on occasion. So Christ didn't go to church, but so number one, follow the religion and be Christ-like by not doing what Christ did. Got it. And by doing things that Christ did not do, taking wives and siring offspring, to then be pressed into the service of Moloch's machine. Right. Okay. Got it. I'm gonna let y'all hear some of my drumming since I got the spirit. Let me see how much. We'll charge the earbuds for a moment. The problem with that is I have to wait till the drumming is happening reflexively, because if I take it over overtly, it'll change it. The drumming. Hey, there I am. I love this. I look down in my chat and I see my version how Elon Musk was make millions trade gem powder almaz dust for fresh diamonds from 15 to 50 USD per gram gems powder. That's dead, motherfucker. Who cares? That's dead, homie. Pour out a little for the dead homies. That's dead, homie. That's dead. Improvisation is to intentionally make errors and then using mathematics correct them. That is what improvisation is. It's the intentional making of an error within the framework of musical theory and then utilizing mathematics to correct the error. How about that? Charlie Parker could never get drunk and high enough to not be a genius level mathematician. How about that? Probably couldn't even read or write. Oh, I don't know that for sure. What up? I'm back. Oh shit, I never went off duty, did I? I'm just sitting here on the drive line. Yeah, we're still driving. How's that? What the hell, man? Now, when I started with Snyder, see, this is the difference between the big company and the little company. If I sat here with the truck not moving for 5 minutes and then went off duty, it would just go backwards and say off duty 5 minutes. What I'm looking at is the screen's off duty 0 minutes. Right. So the little companies, so the software that the little company pays for to do their logs, their hours of service logs, it's actually, that's just wasted 5 minutes of their 70-hour clock, right? Or if I'm, having to try to make a sensitive, time sensitive delivery, which I'm not today, right? Funny how that works. Almost like it's on purpose. Almost like the big boys get together and say, yeah, we'll make it prohibitively expensive for these big boys to use the same stuff we use. But we'll give them this little bitty Samsara bullshit. Right? We'll let them have that. And yeah, we'll let them pull some of our freight sometimes, and we'll, not this company, but we'll let them use a JB Hunt app. But then if their truck gets to the pickup an hour early, and maybe they could get loaded early, well, we won't give them the pickup number until 30 minutes before the pickup time. So we'll cause a little company, if they try to get there early and get an advantage, we won't let them, see. And then just no matter what they do, they can't get the pickup number, but then just magically, oh, here's the pickup number 30 minutes before the pickup. Magically. Moloch's machine. All right. What am I going to do? I think I'm out of here. I'm going to have some apricots. Thanks for watching. Bye.